Welcome to Empower to Recover, the podcast for individuals in addiction recovery who are looking to make a positive impact in the world. We know that recovery isn't about overcoming addiction. It's about discovering your purpose, finding meaning in life, and making a difference in your community. This podcast is for anyone who's been touched by addiction and wants to create a positive change. Welcome back to Empower to Recover, the podcast. We are recapping our event from New Westminster BC and finishing up with our speakers from that event. Today, we are sharing with you Carl. He is an incredible human being that is bringing some new innovative ways to help you build some recovery capital. His company is Energy Wise with a Z, and he helps you use movement and tapping and all these different techniques to come back into your body to help your nervous system. And there's some really amazing tools that we need in recovery because, we're not picking up a drug or a drink anymore. We need to learn how to deal with all of this. So Jay, do you want to share a bit about your journey with Carl and, this event coming up in Calgary, which is really exciting, where Carl's going to be speaking again?
Yeah, the UK stud. That's what I like to call him because he is the UK stud. And Carl's doing some alternative recovery ways. Like his ways are alternative. I mean, he did, his biggest breakthrough was coming through boxing, and he was an amateur boxer. And that's where he had his breakthrough. And he learned that, shifting and moving and grinding and letting go and letting the flow and, from your head to your heart and really walking with intention and purpose in life is really what he does in a real solid way. I mean, on my hand of five, Carl is one of the five, and I met him in March of 2021 when we first started wanting to put this together, and it was called Empower to Inspire. And I heard his excitement. Plus, he had a background in the UK about building events, and also his recovery story, and just like his ambition to actually do this. And not a lot of people last with me. So, just kidding. Carl has he's been that guy there. Been that guy for me to just really talk about everything and anything, and really actually helped me, guide me, show me, teach me ways to reduce stress, right? Like relieve stress and the different tapping techniques that he does, like, tap on your, so you start above your eyebrows and you go around. The whole thing is to get the blood moving, right? So it's like you're moving the stress points around and around, right? Like you move them around and then you come down to your chin and you move the stuff around, right? Which a lot of people wouldn't do, I mean, most people wouldn't sit and do this, and then you do every finger. So basically you're taking the stress off of every finger and throwing it away, right? And then you let some air in there, and but that's how you do it, right? Like, and it really does work. Like his underneath here, that's one technique that he really uses, but he does focus a lot in the gym. He does. He's a trainer. He trains people. He teaches them how to punch and box and move and shake. And he's got a phenomenal gym, Legends Gym in Edmonton, that he works at and does all of his training at there. So, I had the opportunity to see him speak in Kenora too, September 15th, which was great because the one that you're going to get to hear today from BC, which was in May, he stepped his game up, and I hope that they'll reach out. His book is on Amazon, so you can get his book. It's on Amazon. And I'm proud that Carl is a part of our non-for-profit, which we're a federal non-for-profit now too.
Yeah, that's really exciting news. Since our last podcast episode, Empowered Recovery is officially now a federal not-for-profit. So we are in the process of building a board and getting some funding and hoping that we're going to be able to take these events to communities across Canada that don't have connection to recovery. Like some of these bigger cities have a ton of options, a ton of help and support, but there's a lot of places in Canada that need some hope, and we're hoping we can bring that through.
Well, it was just like the last event we did in September when we came to Kenora, Ontario, which is my hometown, and it was clearly evident as to what is needed. And bringing people like Carl to show a small town like Kenora, Ontario, in northwestern Ontario, what Carl does when it comes to healthy modalities, what Carl does for Carl's recovery, what Carl does for Carl's mindset, what Carl does for his process, right? So bringing these different recovery avenues can only boost your recovery capital. Like I think that's what most of us are looking for, is just to boost our recovery capital, meaning that we just want to get, more tools, more resources, more things in our toolboxes for when life really hits us hard, because life hits us hard. Believe me, if you're in Calgary, you're going to hear an amazing story from a guy by the name of Chef Recovery Jay Barnard. Not sure if you know who he is, but you're going to want to be in Calgary, because you're going to want to hear he's going to be opening up for the first time about something that he hasn't really talked about, but you're going to want to be there. So, yeah, it's awesome what Carl's doing. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast with Carl Heath, who is from Energy Wise. You can get his book on Amazon. Follow him on all his social media. He is on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, I love you, Carl.
So I just want to say, Jay, today is amazing. And we've broken everything that Jay and Brooke have done to just bring this. It's the beginning. And it's about shining the light into the darkness that's out there. And we can understand why, by what's happening here in BC, why this place is not packed. Because this is why people need help, support, love, and compassion to move through life. And what I want to share today is the journey from the head back to the heart. I'm a sportsman, coach, and mentor with over 35 years experience. And breaking down and breaking through is what it's all about. Breaking down mentally and emotionally breaking through. And how I learned to switch on and tune into the universal flow of potential. My book is over there, Activating Flow. So what I want to share is, I was born in 1968 to a single mum. My dad left before I was born. There's a separation from the male, the masculine perspective. And by the age of 2, my stepdad came in to our life, part of the family. By the age of 5, my brother was here. Myself, my brother, and my mum were staying in a mental hospital in the UK, a place called Hull. And she was on medication. She'd had 8 sessions of electric shock treatment. And when I've gone through the process of going back to come forward, to break the cycle and the chain, I have these conversations because I was really intrigued to really go back. How did I get here? How did it happen? And my mum would say, son, I wasn't very well. I was on medication. We stayed in a mental hospital. I had postnatal depression. And they took you away. I'm sorry, I feel guilty. And you go back and you look at it, and my mum is amazing, what she's gone through. And at the age of 6, myself and later my brother were taken into a children's home where I would spend the next 8-9 years of my life growing up in a different world, alone, in that separation. And when I look back with the children's home, like we say, growing up in the system, there's rules, there's regulations. You're growing up in a big house. There's 8 to 12 of you, all swimming in each other's issues, all confused emotionally. No tools, there's certain guidance and ways to do things, but the rules, the regulations, the discipline, some of them taught me later in life certain values that I'm very respectful of. Education that I talk about is a lot of us go through education like I did, the alien with one eye, going to the school on my own with my backpack, seeing families, kids getting dropped off. I was there alone, going through the process. And in education, a lot of us get this excessive information without the inspiration, okay? These are systems we've got to work through, that journey from the head back to the heart. And the church. So I experienced the church Sunday school as a kid. Every Sunday we'd go to church, and we would sing, we would read the Bible, and we'd talk about Jesus, and you had the Christmas play. So all of these systems that I grew up in had a big impact on my life. And at the age of 15, I come out of the care system, and I went home to live with my mum. And going through that process, I just remember I switched schools. I had to meet new people. And in the process of doing that, in my last year of school, I switched off. I switched off, and I dialed out of the system, the world of information. And in the process of that at school is I played soccer, which is a Canadian way of saying it. I played football. And I was a runner. I was a long-distance runner at school. And I remember having that release as a runner where I just felt that freedom, cross-country running, where I felt that freedom. And that was like my release. That was that freeingness of just really kind of moving through the process. And what happened was, in my last year, I went to the streets. I naturally gravitated to survival, the survival of the fittest. I went to the streets and basically got involved in smoking weed, dealing weed, drinking alcohol, fighting, developing a reputation, because that's what it's all about. You get in that ego state of wanting to become somebody. And before I know it, I was robbing, stealing, stealing cars, doing all of these things that I had to kind of really look at as a process of being lost as a kid with no role model. My stepdad was a great man. He looked after my mum and passed away, but he was a great man. But looking back, what happened to me was, in the process of playing soccer on a weekend and still running, I couldn't control my aggression. And I went into a men's league, and I was getting knocked about. I was getting pushed around in a men's league playing soccer. And I couldn't control myself, and I couldn't control the aggression. And what happened was I got banned. I got banned from playing. And once I got banned from playing, what happened was I stopped running. I stopped moving. And then that's when the depression started. That's when I started to spend a lot of time on my own, in the bedroom, just really kind of anxiety. But what happened was my past coped with me. I stopped moving, and it was like I had on my internal hard drive a lot of old files I needed to process, because my inability to manage emotion as a kid, I was never taught that. Something I would teach young people over the last 25 years is emotional awareness, reaction response. So what happened was, night after night, I would feel this anxiety. I was on my own, I separated myself, and you get these feelings, you feel weighed down. What am I going to do? How do I cope? And I just remember night after night feeling, how do you end this? How do you end this feeling? Because it's so heavy. And I remember the light coming in through the curtain one morning at 5 o'clock. And I just naturally put my trainers on. And I went for a run. And I remember just running, and I would come back to the front gate and I would feel energized and activated. I felt this energy. And it was like I rescued the inner child, the boy that felt free. I was in this world of excessive information, these systems, and all of a sudden I was activated, and I kept running. And when I was running, I was getting high. I was feeling those natural endorphins that we get, that natural high, that all you need to do is move and access. And when you get that, you get into your body. When you're in your body, you get more in the heart space. So for me, this was the beginning. The first breakthrough of my journey was really activating the senses and then really making sense mentally, the conflict between the head and the heart. I was having these psychic experiences of thinking the television was talking to me, seeing the future. All of these extrasensory perceptions were coming in that I did not know how to control or manage. And then I had the Jesus experience, where I started to kind of preach the 10 Commandments, going out, why are you doing drugs? What are you doing? Well, you should change, this kind of Jesus experience. But for me, there was a truth. Even though I'd gone through the process of going to the church, there was something that was planted in me as a seed that told me taught me to see the truth, that heart space to know the truth, to see the matrix of things, and to be able to kind of see that all of these constructs, these mental constructs that have been part of my belief system are not real, and that your heart is where it's at. And you need to go on that journey back to your heart, and you need to get on with your life and move through all of these experiences. And in that process of connecting, it was like Jesus was the gateway to the universe, the spirit, to feel inspired and inspired to keep moving. And that's what I connected with in 1985, 86. I connected to the source that would only make sense later on in life, which I'm going to share with you. So taking control of my life after this first breakdown and breakthrough, around the age of 18, I was now 19, I was on the door. I was a doorman in a nightclub. I was so confident, so cocky and so strong. I thought I had it all laid out. I was on the door in a nightclub. And, when you look at working in a nightclub, there's certain influences. But I had this confidence. And I started playing soccer again. I got my band lifted and I started playing semi-professional. I was working, in a nightclub, and I was playing semi-pro soccer. I was around characters. A lot of us characters worked on the doors in the clubs. And we liked to party. And it was 1987 when drug culture came to the UK. Ecstasy, LSD, amphetamine sulfate, speed, bombs of Billy as they called it. Every drug you can imagine was coming out, and it was the music, it was the dance scene, and I got into it. And before I knew it, we'd be staying up all weekend. We didn't sleep, we played sport, we didn't sleep, and we partied. And in that process that I went through, this is when I had my second breakdown, when I knew it was coming, when I knew something was taking over. It was that mental space again, with those deeper issues that I needed to work through and heal from. And that's when I got running. It was the end of the soccer season. I got running, I got playing sport again, and I travelled abroad to Europe. I worked in timeshare. I was just in the unknown. I was just in that flow of uncertainty, but I was out there doing it. I came back from the UK after my second breakdown and breakthrough, and that's when I got into a relationship. And in the relationship, everything happened quick. It was like I surfed that wave of love that came in. Before I knew it, there was a child. Before I knew it, things were breaking down. Before I knew it, I was in America coaching soccer. I was, I had so much good influence around me, but so limited with the skills because I'd not seen that love and connection and grown up in that synergy and energy in that environment. And I came back from America, and what I did was, once again, I went back. I run from responsibility and went back to the pleasure, to the drugs, to the clubs. And that's when I would have my third breakdown and breakthrough, where I would start to feel the guilt, the weight, and just regret, and all this emotion, and just getting on drugs. I was losing my mind again. And that's when I went into a boxing gym. And I remember going into a boxing gym. I was playing soccer, but I went to a boxing gym, and I just remember getting on a bag. And I just felt this release. I felt this charge, this aggression. And when I got into the boxing and amateur and professional, what was amazing was it was my greatest shift. This allowed me to really release this build-up that was in the body. All of this stress on our internal hard drive is in the body. And a lot of us get stuck in our heads. And the greatest challenge is to understand how powerful we are. I boxed amateur, professional, and then 1997 I found my calling. And that was when I started working with kids in schools in alternative learning. And that's when I walked into a school and I was like, wow, this is it. I've been guided to this school by a man who spoke to me when I was going through a difficult time. When I was boxing professional, I wanted to find Dave, who planted these seeds, and I found him at a school, and he opened the door And once he opened that door, I was in. Working with these youth, I set up a shed at the back of the school with bags in. I called it the cooling off room, control channeled aggression. And then I realized stress is so powerful but invisible. I could see in the schools, I could see the weight of the stress. I could feel it, I could see it, it was there. And I started to study human biology and started to study stress and the caveman software on our internal hard drive, how we get stuck in freeze, flight, fight, and fear of life and its uncertainties. And that's when I started to develop Boxwise, and I started to teach kids going to mainstream schools, and then I started to work with youth projects, sharing my life experience, sharing the journey, getting kids moving. And I was getting success. I was getting so much success that I was just taken on this journey. And with the success, it allowed me to go on a journey of healing. I was a healaholic. I found time to invest in me, to go, if it was a shamanic sweat lodge in Germany, if it was Lake Bala in Wales with a vision quest, if it was seminars, the Essence Foundation, I found a way, synchronistically, because I was in this flow, this surrender, to just make time to do the inner work, that journey. And I just remember just having so many synchronicities that I just got used to the right people turning up at the right time. It's the universe. It just happens. Get out the way, the process of allowing, let it be, let go, let it in. And that's what I did on the journey. And what's amazing to me is what's really going on collectively that I'm feeling is that, you know, when I come to Canada, Canada, for me, is an amazing country, that people are so open, there's so much love. And that when I came to Canada, I would go through my greatest adversity. My son was born in 2013, he's Canadian. And in the process of my son being born, I would come from the UK. I lost all my contracts in the UK, but the writing was on the wall. I remember the headmaster saying to me, "Carl, you'll come back in September, there was no work." And I went, the writing's on the wall. Thanks, Mike. That's all I needed to know. 2 weeks, pack, sell all your boxing gear. You've got this facility, that facility. Get on a plane, come over. You're going to go through a whole lot of stuff, but you're going to be all right. And what was amazing, coming to Canada and meeting the Smiths, Don and Jackie, where I've lived for so long, amazing people, family. I got to meet the right people that allowed me to integrate and heal that inner child. And when my son came in, that's when I realized I needed to do the deeper work. 0 to 6 was the deeper layers of the onion that I needed to peel. I'd done so much work, and my son would take me through the process. And what was amazing in the process was I met a young fighter, MMA fighter, Thomas. And I remember seeing him in Rice Bowl Deluxe, and I was jabbing around, and I was in the queue, and he said, "Are you a fighter?" I went, yeah, this is what I do, this is my work. He says, "Well, listen, I work in marketing." And I got to know him and said, I want you to, I want to help you. So I took him a 5-year plan into his office at the start downtown near Rogers in Edmonton, and I'm 2 minutes into saying I'm going to do this. It's energy-wise. I've got art, awareness, release, tools. And he says to me, within like a couple of minutes, he looked at me and went, "Get your book done." And I just went, "Okay, I'll get my book." And within a couple of weeks, I was out the way. I was getting up early mornings. Within 2 weeks, I had the framework to the book. My son was 6 years of age. That's when the book came in. That's when I went into the children's home as a child. 18 chapters. 18 was when I really had my first breakthrough. And the book came in, and over 4 years, I got to write the book. I had no choice. When you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're waking up, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. It's coming through. Get out of the way. And that's the story of my life. It's about getting out of the way and knowing your true power. And that's what I share through the book, through my work. It's about 4 key things. The first one is activate the senses, move the body, understand human technology. 2, some of us may need to heal the inner child or the wounded child like I did. 3, recognize reaction from response. And 4, is just live from your heart and understand your true power. Thank you for listening. Thank you.